Listen up, L-Bomb Nation. It's your loudest bombshell, Stella Pierson, and this is the Lovebombed, where it wasn't true love, it was true crime. They staged the love. We dropped the truth bombs. Lovely bombshells, let's finish the story. If you're in or just out of a relationship and you believe your ex is a narcissist, this podcast is for you. Stella! I had to do it. Who is she? Why did I name this the Lovebombed? What even is this space and why does it feel different? This episode is me pulling back the curtain, not just as a host, but as the woman who lived the chaos, named the abuse, and finally decided to talk about it out loud. Part 1. Who is Stella? I've been in relationships. Some were long and lovely and ended because we simply changed. Some were short and sweet, soon forgotten. And others were hardly a walk in the park. I've survived a seriously abusive relationship that stretched over years, but nobody called it abuse. They called it drama. They said it takes two to tango. And I've been in what looked like a perfect marriage because the outside looked so good, but something was terribly wrong. Only I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I've seen overt abuse. I've lived through covert abuse. I've dated some. I've seen drama. And I've lived through silence that was just as violent. I haven't dated much, but I'm ready. And I'm ready to talk, ready to name it, ready to stop pretending it was anything but what it was. And I'm talking about all of it right here on the Lovebombed. So why the Lovebombed? I've been the one left behind. The one who didn't move on quickly. The one who sat in the wreckage while someone else rewrote the story. I watched a man who once swore forever jump ship twice. First from his, quote, failing marriage straight into ours. A love story so intense it felt like a movie. Then again, from us into someone new. A new supply, a new illusion. And I was left to pick up the pieces. Because our lives were so entangled, the end wasn't clean. It came with years of post-separation abuse. Or BS, depending on how polite you want to be. While he moved on, rebuilding a carbon copy life with a younger woman, replacing me like I was a role he needed to recast, I was still there, healing, hurting, taking blow after blow while trying to rebuild from the inside out. And in the middle of all of it, I realized something no one warns you about. How lonely this kind of breakup is. Not just heartbreak, not just loss, but the kind of loneliness that comes when no one understands what you're going through. Your friends are tired of hearing about it. Your family doesn't get it. And eventually you stop talking. You isolate yourself even more just to make the silence hurt less. But breaking up with someone pathological, a narcissist, an everyday psychopath, isn't like a normal breakup. It's all-consuming. So one night I sat there, laughing at how absurd it all felt. In a world of 8 billion people, I'd never felt so alone. I laughed, and then I got creative. I said yes to social media. I wasn't even a heavy user before, just the usual friends, family, news, the occasional post. But when I dared to dream about finding my people, when I imagined turning my pain into something that mattered, I created the Lovebombed. I had no idea what it would become, but now it's a space. It's a voice, it's a lifeline, and I am honored to share content that not only tells the truth, but holds space for yours too. This podcast is the next step in that journey. My Instagram content at the Lovebombed isn't random. It's not performative. It's not for clout. It's survival. It's storytelling. It's my truth, finally, uncensored. Every post, every caption, every reel was born from a moment I couldn't keep quiet anymore. Because for so long I stayed silent, to keep the peace, to seem sane, to avoid another blow, legal, emotional, psychological. But when I started sharing, something happened. Women wrote me. They said, "That's my story too. You're saying the words I never could." And suddenly, I wasn't alone. Not anymore. Instagram became the place where I got to take the narrative back, where I didn't have to explain or justify, where I could say, this happened, this was real, it was wrong, and I'm still here. It became the one place I didn't have to downplay what I lived through just to make someone else comfortable. It became the opposite of gaslighting. It became clarity. And it gave me back my voice. So no, my content isn't just content. It's connection. It's the place where I stopped editing myself for people who never cared about the full picture anyway. And now it's expanding into this podcast, into community, into a movement. So here's the truth. Hosting a podcast solo isn't easy. There's a natural energy that comes when two people are vibing, but right now it's just me, this mic, and my story. But that's about to change. I've got 3 jaw-dropping guests lined up, and trust me, you're not ready. Before those interviews drop, I want to make sure you know the full backstory. Because once the mic gets passed, the narrative shifts, and I want you grounded in what this show really is. Behind the scenes, I've been working on a new sound, a new intro, and a new direction that pushes the Lovebombed into the genre that it truly belongs. True crime. The Instagram tagline stays the same. Idolized, devalued, discarded by a narcissist. But here on the pod, the tagline is this. It wasn't true love. It was true crime. Because we're cracking the case wide open. We're not just talking red flags. We're mapping patterns. We're connecting the dots between manipulation and criminality. We're asking the hard questions. Was it toxic? Was it drama? Or was it something darker? Because here's what I've lived. Sometimes it doesn't take 2 to tango. Sometimes it takes one crazy-making person to drag everyone down. And somehow the pathological one walks away clean. We're going to investigate that, but that's not all. I've said I haven't dated much until now, and I'm taking you with me. This next chapter is messy, honest, vulnerable, and wild. We'll talk viral dating advice. We'll talk dating dirty. We'll break down the culty TikTok coaches, the ick list, the bare minimum energy. We'll call out the fantasy, the fear, the fun, and we'll always circle back to this. Was it healthy? Was it drama? Or was it true crime? Because the Lovebombed is evolving. It's still survival, still storytelling, but now it's also an investigation. Let's finish the story. People have been writing to me, DMs, comments, emails, all asking the same thing. Stella, we want to hear your story. What happened to you? What was your experience with a narcissist? And listen, I hear you. I want to share it, but not like a documentary, not like a perfectly linear trauma timeline, because the truth doesn't land in straight lines. It unfolds. It hits in flashes, and I want you to get to know me that way, how it happened, raw, unexpected, real. So, no, this won't be a chronological tell-all. It'll be woven into episodes, interviews, moments in between. And today, I'll start with one, just a snippet. The night we met. We met at a party, not a bar, not a dating app, just a regular party with a mutual friend. Both of us traveling, both of us far from home. I was in the kitchen saying my goodbyes, ready to Irish exit the rest of the night. And then he bounced out of the basement like Tigger. Our eyes locked, and that was it. He came straight to me, like he'd been waiting, like the rest of the room disappeared, and maybe it did, because suddenly we were flirting hard. There was only one seat left in the kitchen, and he took it. I gave him a look like, really? And he pulled me onto his lap like it was nothing, like we already belonged to each other. People kept drifting out, and it was just us. The banter, the tension, the kind of moment that feels cinematic when you're in it. I leaned in to kiss him goodnight, not because I was looking for anything, but because the moment was that charged. And that's when he told me he was married. I paused, pulled back, confused, not because I wanted to be someone's other woman, but because I was intrigued. Why had he gone that far? I leaned in again just to test him, tempting a second kiss, and he didn't flinch. That was the first red flag. But instead of lunging or pushing, he lifted me up gently and carried me into a darker, quieter room, laid me on a couch like it was a scene from a romance novel, and I said out loud, "I'm not going to sleep with you." And he said, "Good, because I'm not going to try." And you know what? He didn't. I waited for the moment, the grab, the reach, the inevitable touch that would give me permission to walk away. But it never came. We just talked all night. No names exchanged, just stories. Laughter, confessions, things that we've never told anyone. I didn't want to find my way back to where I was staying, not in the rain and not in the dark, so I stayed. But here's what I didn't know yet, that while I was staying to feel safe for one night, he was staying to collect data. I thought I was sharing with a stranger I'd never see again. He was studying. I thought there was a connection, but there was also a boundary. He was married. By the end of the night, I believed that his marriage was defunct. I believed that I had met someone special who was returning home to have a serious conversation with his wife, that their relationship was already ending, and they both knew it, but neither of them were brave enough to admit it. Ultimately, none of that was my business. We hadn't exchanged names. I was not a threat to his wife. I was not looking to start a relationship with somebody who was already taken, but he presented himself as somebody who was almost free. If we were meant to be, the universe would put us back together one day. I was a fool. I hadn't used social media a lot, and within 24 hours, there was a message from him in my inbox. That night didn't end with a promise, or even a broken promise. It ended with a blueprint. Because I walked away thinking that was kind of magical, but what he walked away with was intel. And I wouldn't know until much later just how much he took. Stay tuned, because this is only the beginning of the story. Bombshells. Let's get into Q&A. Lovebomb Nation, my inbox exploded. So many of you messaged me asking things I once asked myself too. So before we go any further, I want to answer them. If you've made it this far, you already know I'm not here to play nice with narcissism. You know a bit about my backstory now, but what I've learned from living through it, coaching others through it, and losing everything more than once is that telling the story is just the beginning. Because behind every survival story is a string of questions no one dared to ask. So I'm answering them here. No sugarcoating, just truth bombs. Here are 8 questions you've either asked me directly or you didn't know you needed the answer to yet. Let's go. Question 1. When did you know it was abuse? Okay, I didn't. Not for a long time. In fact, somebody had to point it out to me. And then somebody else. And then they had to do it all over again until I could see it for myself. I knew what overt abuse looked like. I lived through it in my teens. But covert abuse? That's a slow bleed. I thought I was healing from my past, finally a safe relationship. He said all the right things, mirrored my values. He made me feel chosen. But love doesn't erase you piece by piece. Love doesn't make you question your reality and beg to be heard. The moment I knew it was abuse was after he left. It was the discard phase. It was when I looked back and realized I hadn't been safe for a long time. I'd been silenced, discredited, controlled, and that wasn't love. It was a psychological thriller in real life. Boom. Question 2. What's something people get so wrong about narcissistic abuse? They think it's loud. It's not. It's not always screaming matches and broken dishes. It's subtle corrections. It's love that feels like a test you're always failing. It's silence that punishes more than any slap ever could. People think victims are weak, but to survive narcissistic abuse, you had to be stronger than anyone knows. You had to keep showing up in a relationship that keeps just appearing on you. And worst of all, you had to mourn someone who was never real. Boom. Question 3. What was the most shocking thing he did during the breakup? Ooh, okay. He acted like it was mutual, like we had just outgrown each other, like it was calm, adult, civil. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, he had already rewritten the story, told people I was unstable, controlling, obsessed. He was laying the groundwork while still pretending to love me. And I'll never forget this. After he left, we were on the phone, and he said to me, "Stella, I don't know what you think about her. She's not as beautiful as you. She's just not. You're drop-dead gorgeous. But she's nice to me." Nice to him? I'm like, I remember being nice. I told him he better never say that again and never let her know what he said. He said it to me like it was some kind of a gift, like I should thank him for minimizing the destruction he caused. That moment made my skin crawl, because the discard wasn't cold, it was calculated. He wanted to come off as the good guy, the one who just had to walk away. And the world believed him. Because when someone leaves quietly, smiling, people don't see the body count behind them. That performance, that was the most shocking thing. The weapon wasn't rage, it was charm. Boom. Question 4. How do you stay sane when the abuse doesn't stop after you leave? You get strategic, not emotional. I used to waste energy begging for fairness, clarity, and decency. Now, I document, detach, and redirect. I stopped expecting justice from the legal system and started building it in my own life. You don't heal when the abuse stops. You heal the second you stop needing validation from your abuser or anyone who bought the story he sold. Boom. Question 5. Why do you think he picked you? He picked me because I had light. Narcissists don't pick people they see as weak. They pick people they want to be. He picked me because I was driven, compassionate, loyal. And remember, he listened the night that we met, and I told him everything, believing I'd never see him again. I told him things that I probably never even told my therapist. He felt safe. I really came clean. And once he had me, he hated those exact traits. He used my stories against me because deep down he knew he couldn't match them. So he tried to control them until I wouldn't bend anymore. That's when he punished me for the very power he was drawn to. Boom. Question 6. What do you say to people who think you're just bitter? I say, you're right. I'm bitter. I'm bitter that the system protects charisma over character. I'm bitter that I had to become a legal expert just to defend myself in family court. I'm bitter that I didn't know sooner. But I'm not stuck in bitterness. I turned it into blueprints, into podcasting, coaching, advocacy, truth-telling. I'm not venting. I'm documenting the playbook so no one else falls for the same lies. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. Boom. Question 7. What surprised you most about your healing? I missed him. Not the real him, because there was no real him. I missed the illusion. The version of him that mirrored my dreams. The version I loved was me, reflected back. What surprised me most was how deep I had to dig. Not just to unhook from him, but to forgive myself for believing it was real. Healing didn't look like a sunrise. It looked like sitting in silence, accepting that I'd loved a lie, and still choosing to rebuild anyway. Boom. Question 8. What's your message to women still inside the illusion? You don't need them to hit you for it to be abuse. You don't need a bruise to prove you're being broken. You don't need to wait for proof that your intuition has already delivered. If you're still inside the setup, where the charm confuses you, the silence punishes you, and your gut is screaming but your heart is bleeding, hear me. That's not love. That's manipulation dressed up as devotion. You're not overreacting or under-responding to real harm. The pain you feel is a signal. Your body knows. Your soul knows. And once you start listening to that voice they've spent years trying to mute, you'll never fall for the illusion again. You are not crazy. You're waking up. And that's when your life starts to belong to you again. Boom. That's it for this episode, bombshells. If this hit home, if any part of your body just exhaled because someone finally put words to your pain, then you're in the right place. This podcast is for you. And we're just getting started. Until next time, keep your boundaries high, your standards higher, and your receipts in a safe place. Because what happened to you was real. It was wrong, and you're not beyond repair. You're a bombshell now, and we rise together. Lovebombed. And now, I'm finally laughing again. Just not for the reason you'd think. I mean, really, who's going to want to date me after this? Trauma history, sealed court files, and a podcast mic? Babe, you better come correct. And I don't mean flowers and playlists. I mean emotional literacy. I mean self-awareness, accountability, and a damn therapist on speed dial. Because I've already danced with the charming ones. I've already survived the ones who smiled while they broke me. So if you're showing up now, show up healed, show up honest, show up ready for a woman who doesn't shrink herself to be chosen, or don't show up at all. L-Bomb Nation, where are my bombshells at? Drop me a DM. Contact details are in the show notes. Like you, love you. Lovebombed.